Welcome to Pat Stats. Good morning. Today is May 25th. To give you a little insight on how the Mets have done today, they are actually 3-2. In 2015, 16, and 17, they won, but in 2018 and 2019, they lost. So some good and bad on this day. But for the most of this video today, it's going to be a little different. I'm going to show you the Mets DH and defensive options. So now what this means, the National League this year, if a season is played, they're probably going to use a DH. So what I did is I imagined took every hitter on the Mets and assumed they were DHing. I put the defensive lineup behind them because if Pete Alonso for the Mets is DHing, their defense is going to look different. I put all the options in, and every hitter, even though they may not DH, I still put it in. So let's get going. So say Wilson Ramos is the DH. This is their standard defense. That's what I'll be using for the most part. The only change is that Tomas Nido will be the catcher instead of Ramos. Okay, now the DH is Pete Alonso. The only change is that Dominic Smith is the first baseman instead of Alonso. So now, for Robertson Cano, there are many defensive options the Mets could do. First, they could put Jeff McNeil at second base instead of Cano. And have Jake Marisnick in center and Nimmo in left. Or they could just put Nimmo in center and Smith in left with McNeil at the second. Or they could put Luis Guillorme at third base and J.D. Davis in left field. They could put Guillorme at second and Davis at third and McNeil in left. Or they can put Cespedes in left. So many options for Cano. Oh, and one more. Jed Lowry. We don't know if he's healthy, but there's no update. But if he is, he could play second. Assuming Ahmed Rosario is the DH, there are two options. It's either Luis Guillorme at shortstop or Jed Lowry at shortstop. Those are the only two for him. J.D. Davis. J.D. Davis is probably going to DH for the Mets a lot this year. He's a third baseman / left fielder, so they could put McNeil at third and Nimmo in left, and Marisnick in center. They could put Nimmo in center, McNeil in left, Guillorme at third, or Lowry at third, or Cespedes in left, McNeil at third, and Smith in left and McNeil at third. So you'll see that Smith and Cespedes will appear in left field a lot for one of the options, and J.D. Davis is at third along with Guillorme and Lowry, who can also play there. If Jeff McNeil was the DH, then you could have J.D. Davis at third and Cespedes in left, or you could have Smith in left, or you could have Nimmo in left and Marisnick in center, or you could have Jed Lowry at third, or Guillorme at third. If Brandon Nimmo was the DH, then simply Jake Marisnick would be the center fielder. If Michael Conforto is the DH, then McNeil could be the right fielder and Nimmo could be the left fielder. And now, sure, you could switch those two since they both could play those positions. But since that has nothing to do with Conforto, that's technically not going to be on this list. If Tomas Nido was the DH, which is out of this world, then that would be the defensive lineup. That's the standard lineup. Defensive lineup. If Guillorme was the DH, these are all going to be the same now. It's just standard. They could always put someone else in if they wanted to, but that would have nothing to do with Guillorme. Lowry, Smith, Cespedes, and Marisnick. So that's all for the defensive and DH options for the New York Mets. Going back to today's date, well, today we weren't missing anything. The Mets were off today. Interesting schedule quirk. Anyway, that's all for Pat Stats today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.